to settle down, have water, or have some coffee, tea. Ram, we have Dr. Sonavne who has still not joined in. He is immediately speaking after, Mr. Ujgaonkar from MCGM. So he is about to log in, okay, but he doesn't have a PPT. He is going to talk extempore. Okay. I think he's joined in.
Smarudh sir,
we have our PPT ready. We will share our screen.
Yeah, sir. तुमच्याकडून तुम्ही share करा. Once I announce that you are speaking, तुम्ही मग share करून बोलू शकता sir.
Yeah.
We have 1 more minute to go. Ram, can you start it live?
Yes, we are starting our session live. Kindly keep yourself muted till your turn comes to talk, sir.
So I am starting now. 3, 2, 1. A very warm welcome to all our viewers from across the globe and from India who have logged in for Jal Samrudh Maharashtra. My name is Kailash Shirodkar. I am the CEO for Smart Water and Waste World. Smart Water and Waste World is an engagement platform where in the water and the waste community from across India and across the globe can come together to share and learn about the latest technology trends, the best practices, and case studies in the water and the wastewater sector. In the past, during our discussions with various urban local bodies, we saw a trend wherein a lot of urban local bodies were looking at recycling and reuse of their wastewater. According to a survey or a report released in India, by 2050, it is estimated that 50% of India's population would be living in urban local bodies. And it suddenly become a prime importance for urban local bodies to try to look at managing the sewage and the wastewater that they generate, because not only does it become a source of energy, not only does it become a source of nutrients that can be collected, but the water that can be recycled back can also help ease off the pressure that is there on the dwindling sources of water supply. And hence this initiative Jal Samrudh Maharashtra with a focus only on wastewater. The idea is to have the urban local bodies and the councils in Maharashtra to give them a platform where they can learn about trends and technologies that can help them treat the wastewater that they are generating, and also give a platform for technology experts to share with these government decision makers about the products and solutions in this space. To kickstart the session today, I would now like to invite Mr. Bart de Jong, the Consul General for the Kingdom of Netherlands, to deliver the welcome remarks. Over to you, Bart.
Thank you, Kailash, and thank you also Smart Wastewater World for organizing this very important seminar program, Jal Samrudh Maharashtra, the future of wastewater. We, as the Netherlands Consulate General in Mumbai, are very glad to partner with Smart Wastewater World because wastewater is a topic that is very close to our heart in the Netherlands, and a topic that we have also built a lot of expertise on. The Netherlands, as you may know, have had a love-hate relationship with water, and that's because of several reasons. In the first place, because 1/3 of the country is below sea level, so we've always been battling river floods and sea floods. But it also means that there is no natural runoff of water, so every bit of wastewater that has to be discharged needs to be treated before it can be discharged. There's another reason. We are a very densely populated and also highly urbanized country. 80% of our population lives in cities. And as we all know, which is also the program the topic of this program these days, as we all know, urban areas produce an extra lot of wastewater. And then also we've built up experience in the Netherlands with water treatment, water purification, because we are highly dependent for our drinking water supply of water that is coming in from the urban heartland of Europe, in Germany, in France, through the River Rhine and the River Meuse. And of course, that water needs to be treated as well before we can drink. So the Netherlands actually for decades long, I would say even nearly a century, we've had experience with the purification of water, wastewater treatment, and so on. And that made that we've come to look at wastewater in a different way. We've come to regard it as a source of energy, basically. And also, wastewater is a source of minerals that can be used for instance, making fertilizer. A well-known example is the wastewater treatment plant in Amsterdam that operates energy neutral, and at certain points it even has excess of energy. And it also produces minerals from sludge that can be converted into fertilizer. Well, we'll see a number of Dutch experts speaking today and tomorrow on our experience with water treatment and wastewater treatment. And I wish you all a very fruitful program, and I hope that we will be able in future to cooperate with India on this very important topic. Thank you all, and I hand it back to Kailash. Have a good program.
Thank you, Bart, for laying and delivering the welcome address for us. So to kickstart Jal Samrudh Maharashtra, we thought why not start with the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, which is clearly the largest civic body in the country and among the largest civic bodies in the globe. We have with us Mr. Shirish Ujgaonkar, Deputy Municipal Commissioner Special Engineering at the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. He is first going to talk about the wastewater infrastructure at Mumbai and their plans, and then I'm going to maybe engage with him in a freewheeling discussion about his plans. So over to you, Mr. Ujgaonkar.
Thanks, Kailash ji, for the introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and warm wishes to the elite gathering attending this webinar. While deciphering the theme of recycling and reuse of treated wastewater, I feel we should run through the global scenario quickly. Let me share the screen and show you. Yeah. As per World Bank's research blog, you may be aware that we have 80% of water which is not and 36% of global population lives in. Okay, let's go ahead. The need for emphasizing recycling and reuse has been there from quite some time, and for quite some time. And you may be aware that recycling has been in practice in California for last 100-150 years. They have been using it widely for their irrigation needs. It shows that the reuse of recycled water has grown from 220 MCM annually to 840 MCM in 2012, and by 2020 they plan to reach by around to about 1850 MCM annually. Now, along with irrigation requirements, they plan to use it also for energy production, geothermal energy production, industrial use, as well as groundwater recharge. They have their National Resources Defense Council, which publishes this data every now and then. While being on the subject for Mumbai, you may be aware that the population of Mumbai is around 14.08 million, and that's a major challenge that we need to tackle while speaking about recycling and reuse of treated sewage here. The area Mumbai encompasses about 438 square kilometers of area, and the water supply as of today is 3850 MLD at source. Now, deducting the supply given to, say, Thane Municipal Corporation as well as Bhiwandi Nagar Parishad and those areas, the sewage that is generated in Mumbai is 2190 MLD, 2190 million liters per day. And this is the scale we are talking about while being on the subject of recycling and reuse. The sewerage system is divided into 7 sewage zones comprising 7 treatment facilities and 51 pumping stations. And after primary treatment, the sewage is let into the sea through 3 marine outfalls. The sewerage zones of Mumbai, as you can see here, at the southern end of Mumbai, it is Kulaba. Then, as we progress towards western side, it is Worli, Bandra, Versova, Malad. And on the eastern front, it is Ghatkopar and Bhandu. These are the 7 zones identified for the treatment of sewage in Mumbai. The treatment capacities at these 7 locations are here. Most of the locations we are giving preliminary treatment, and we are discharging into Arabian Sea through marine outfall. Recently completed Kulaba treatment plant has tertiary treatment facilities also, and but since there is no user available immediately, the water is treated water is let into sea after secondary treatment. Of course, Navy has shown interest for buying this tertiary treated water from Kulaba, but not to the fullest extent. So we intend to reuse the treated water from wastewater treatment facilities in Mumbai, and through our department named as Mumbai Sewage Disposal Project, we have invited tenders for upgradation of all these 7 treatment facilities, so that the treatment effluent discharge standards of NGT are met on completion of these treatment plants. The 7 treatment plants which I was discussing about earlier, Kulaba is commissioned in April 2020. The other treatment plants which are going to come up have total capacity of about 2,501 MLD, out of which 50% water is going to be used, recycled and reused. So that comes to about 1271 MLD. And that much quantity will be available, say about 1275 MLD will be available on completion of all these treatment plants in after next 4 to 5 years. Now, this additional water that is going to be available after completion of these treatment plants will be treated at new discharge standards mandated by NGT. And the bids that are invited encompass the technology which is open to all. We have not specified any particular type of technology for treatment of sewage. And all contracts are going to be of DBO type with O&M for 15 years with due asset replacement after a specified time. Here we can see that as per NGT standards, the BOD is going to be less than 10 mg per liter, and total suspended solids will be less than 20. But while talking about reuse of this treated sewage, the standards are going to be as per this slide. TSS will be 5 and BOD will be 10 with turbidity at 2 NTU and fecal coliforms below detectable level. I'll just go back to the previous slide. Here you can see that fecal coliforms are indicated as less than 100. That is after secondary treatment. But after tertiary treatment, they are going to be below detectable level. Then only that water is going to be for maybe non-potable purposes, non-potable uses. This is a photograph of recently completed our Kulaba treatment facility where we have housed 37 MLD wastewater treatment plant. Now, about the non-potable uses of recycled water. We are exploring all these options where this can be really used, and the non-potable options could be maybe industrial purpose or gardening or charging of fire hydrants. This is one of the important uses which can be thought of, like charging of fire hydrants or railway and bus washing or toilet flushing. But for some of the uses like toilet flushing given by commercial establishments or even domestic establishments, residential establishments, we need to have some legislative support for that. We have actually some of these facilities erected at these 8 locations where maybe with different technologies we have been reusing treated sewage. Like from our Low-Grow sewage treatment plant at Worli, we are using by deploying IIT soil biotechnology technique, we are using it for gardening purpose. Now, Banganga pumping station, which is based on rotating media biofilter technology, is administering the gardens of Raj Bhavan. Similarly, the Bandra or Dadar or Charkov, Kulava, they are though they are working, they are having different technologies for treating sewage water, are being used for different purposes, primarily being for gardening. These are some of the challenges that are basically faced while framing policy or while deciding about reuse and reuse of recycled water. First is maintenance of this tertiary treatment facilities. Now the need, this requires facility for tertiary treatment, not only for from a capex point of view, but for storage and delivery point of view also. It requires huge cost. Further, also maintenance cost for ensuring the proper water quality is also an issue while recycling, while using treated sewage. Then we have another issue, that is tariff for fresh water and recycled water. Then the most important part is public awareness. We have, there will be obviously social stigma by using this water. So there we need to conduct maybe public awareness programs and legislative support and some mandatory marketing techniques. So while when these treatment plants were designed for treating the wastewater at these 7 or 8 locations, as said earlier, what were the expected achievements of these projects? First was the conservation of environment, because this will definitely help in reducing the dependence on development of surface water sources. This will be a very reliable local source, and it will not be vulnerable to any droughts or any climate change constraints. So as such, this has to be pushed further. Secondly, it will also have improvement in the sea aquatic life, because we are letting into the our sewage, maybe preliminary treated sewage, through sewage outfalls into sea. So if it is treated fully and if the water is reused, it will definitely improve the sea aquatic life due to reduced pollution. This will also improve air quality as well as public health in Mumbai city. But in spite of all this, let us accept that we are facing multiple challenges while planning these wastewater treatment projects for such a mega city, and it is necessary to for that we need to have a specific site approach. Like if we are planning to have, say, localized use of treated sewage, maybe after tertiary treatment, we need to have a localized network available for conveying that water, distributing it, store it at different locations, fix different tariffs for that water, maybe make mandatory provisions in our building permissions to have separate water lines for tertiary treated sewage water as well as fresh water. And all these things need to be involved, and these will be, of course, tackled over a period of time. We are just in the starting phase, I would say, apart from these 7 or 8 small treatment facilities which are used for gardening purpose. I thank you very much for patient listening, and hand over back to Mr. Kailash Shirokar.
Thank you, Mr. Ujgaonkar. You have in this short time received so many questions. So what I will do is I'll take a few questions, and then I would invite you and Dr. Sonavne to be a part of a discussion that we have. So I'll take a few questions that have come up. So one question from Mr. Saurav Datta. He's asking, he's curious to know about how sludge is disposed currently, that all the sludge that is generated. Is MCGM allotting such land for disposable, or is it getting used in some sludge drying bed?
No, we don't give them land for disposal of sludge. It is being used, it is being sold by those contracting companies to various agencies for its reuse.
Okay. We have Rishit Hemani who is asking, can you tell us what measures are being taken to control the odorous gases produced from STP operations?
Right now, there is, as I said, we have only preliminary treatment facilities in the form of aerated lagoons and such things. But we have already invited tenders for secondary and tertiary treatment, and in that we have taken all those measures for controlling those gaseous odors.
Sir, Rajendra Pise is asking how will the recycled water be supplied? I mean, will it be pipeline, or are you looking at tankers to resupply the water?
Obviously, it has to be through separate piping system, because under this pretext, we don't wish to allow tanker lobby to thrive.
Okay, sir, what I will do is, there are still some few more questions, but I will try to now invite Dr. Ramnath Sonavne, Secretary for Maharashtra Water Resources Regulatory Authority, and I would say among Maharashtra's leading urban planner for the last 30 years, who's worked across multiple urban local bodies. Welcome, Dr. Sonavni.
Sonavni ji,
Dr.
kindly
Sonavni, we can't
unmute
hear
yourself.
you. You
Kindly
need to
unmute
unmute
yourself.
yourself. Sir, we still can't hear you. Can you hear us? Sir, you are muted again. Till Dr. Sonavni comes back on and we can get him into the conversation, Mr. Ujgaonkar, I will take up a few of the questions that have, come up for you.
Okay.
Mr. Sachin Joshi is asking us that what are the criteria for selection that you have for the various wastewater treatment technologies, because I believe you mentioned that you are going to keep the technology open.
Yes, there was no specific criteria for keeping for selection of technology. Whosoever comes lowest or whosoever passes through the QCBS system in the tender evaluation stage, whether he offers MBR or he offers SBR, we have given the limitation, site limitations in the tender, and accordingly the bidders have provided the technology.
Okay. Some other questions is they are saying is we have a question from an international expert. He's asking, based on the case study or based on your presentation, which sectors do you believe will use the recycled water?
Frankly speaking, presently we have not much of industrial demand here in Mumbai, but this can definitely be used for flushing purposes in commercial establishments. Plus, we have so many gardens where we can use it for gardening purpose, and large consumers like Navy and Mazgaon Dock and such people can be explored for possible usage.
Okay. We have Arvind Sharma, who is, thanking you for the interesting presentation. And he says that till the setting up of the STP or your plans, would you consider using bioremediation as a treatment technology, because this has been recommended by NGT?
Okay, this is not a bad suggestion. We welcome that. He can definitely meet us.
So this is a highly technical question. Mr. Anurag Tingre is asking, is RBBR a better wastewater treatment method according to MCGM?
See, these technologies were used few years back. Today, we don't consider a particular technology as better or best or good for the present scenario. For the given quantum of sewage inflow, it all depends on which technology will fit into the available space and give us the required output that we select from the QCBS system of the tenders.
Sir, Praveen from, I think, Mumbai is asking this question that you have mentioned about, the upgradation of the STP works or the wastewater works that MCGM is looking at. Any kind of timelines we are looking at as to when we feel that they would be up and running?
As I said in the presentation, that we expect these wastewater treatment facilities to be completed by 5 to 6 years hence.
Okay. Ram, I think Dr. Sonavne is facing some issues with connectivity. Can you just check it while I take a few more questions, for Mr. Ujgaonkar?
Ram, Sonavne sir has joined us. He's there with us right now.
I think we cannot hear him.
He's just rejoined. Sonavne sir, can you talk a few lines? No, sir, we are not able to hear you yet. Could you try connecting a headset or something like that? Maybe a headphone or a headset. No, sir, we can't hear you.
Till then, I will take one more question for Mr. Ujgaonkar. This is from Rishi Sete. He is asking, has MCGM thought of a decentralized wastewater treatment systems? Because in large cities, sometimes the cost of conveying the sewage till the STP, which might be a little on the outskirts, is very high.
The thing is that, fortunately for us, our sewerage system is very well designed, and it is capable of bringing sewage from the respective zones to the treatment facility. I am happy to tell you that even this sewerage system, all the data is available on our GIS. And in case of any problem, we immediately come to know about non-functioning of particular sewage network due to GIS.
So Mr. Sujit Kumar is asking a question: why doesn't MCGM opt for any specific advanced technology? There are many advanced technologies like IFAS, which is the best fit for retrofit projects.
First of all, our projects are not really retrofit projects, to be precise. Of course, they are not greenfield projects too, but we had only preliminary treatment facilities in the form of aerated lagoons earlier, and that is going to be replaced maybe by SBR technology or MBR technology to meet the required standards stipulated by NGT.
Sir, continuing to a question that was already asked before, about the handling of the sludge. Recently, I think MCGM had announced plans to, try to create 2 sludge centers on the outskirts. I think it was around Malad, or I think it was around Airoli. Any plans to work towards them? Any biosolid strategy in place, sir?
No, it's still on. It is not yet finalized.
Dr. Sonavne, can you hear us? Ram, can we connect with Dr. Sonavne and maybe suggest to him to connect over mobile? Till
He's
then, maybe
connecting
what I could...
They're connecting a headset right now to check it. Sonavne ji, you can also try connecting over a mobile if the internet connection also quite sometimes drops at your end. So you could try connecting over a mobile too.
Sir, we can't hear you. I think he's trying a headset. Let's see.
Hello, can you hear us, sir? There's also internet connectivity issue at his end. So I'll check it out, sir.
Okay, so then what I will do is, maybe while we try to get Dr. Sonavne back, I will then move on in the agenda. Mr. Sonamni, can you hear us now? We can't hear him yet. So what I think we will do is we will move ahead in the agenda while we try to solve technical issues at Dr. Sonamni's end. And I would now like to invite Dr. Damir, our keynote address for today. And Dr. Damir is going to talk about global trends in innovation on sanitation, education, and technology. Professor Damir is a professor at sanitary engineering at the IHE Delft Institute. Professor Damir, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
And you can also see my presentation.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, super. So I was asked to prepare a little keynote for today, and I will cover some historical facts and also the present, but also the future in the area of wastewater treatment and also on fecal sludge and septic sludge treatment. And I will only focus on the experiences from the Netherlands. So let's start. And my first example is a Passphere oxidation ditch. This is the first, let's say, biological wastewater system that really brought the Netherlands at the global stage as an innovative country in this field. Passphere ditch has been developed in 1954 and applied about 20 kilometers from the place where I live, in the place called Forschoten. And that was a kind of activated sludge system without primary settler, without secondary settler. It was a simple system and was really later applied with some modifications worldwide. After that, the developments happened at Wageningen University when Professor Gatze Lettinga developed something called UASB, and that stands for Upflow Anaerobic Sludge Bed Reactor. And USB systems are also applied nowadays in different forms worldwide, such as ASBR. So I will bombard you with lots of abbreviations, but that's not my fault. People gave these names, and ASBR means anaerobic sludge bed reactors. EGSB stands for anaerobic expanded and fluidized bed systems. IC, it's internal recirculation systems. So these are all commercial names of the technologies for high-loaded anaerobic wastewater treatment. And there are a couple of companies in the Netherlands who are supplying such systems worldwide. In about same time, so I'm talking about 80s or 90s, next to the anaerobic treatment, also relatively strong developments started with the aerobic airlift reactors. These reactors have been developed in the industry, started in Hisbrokades here in Delft, and later on also led to a product called Zircox or Kirkox, depending who pronounces that. It's also a Dutch company putting on the market such reactors. These are also granular sludge reactors. So at that time, we also applied the granular sludge in anaerobic, but also in aerobic treatment. These reactors were mostly dealing with the carbon removal, so COD removal, BOD removal, and not necessarily with the nitrification, denitrification, which means nitrogen removal, and certainly not with the phosphorus removal. So the phosphorus removal became a topic in the Netherlands in the same time, and it became also a topic in the EU, where, and it was around 90s, where the new EU standards were implemented for stricter nitrogen and phosphorus removal. And now we have a range of processes which deal with the phosphorus removal. And one of them is the BCFC process. That process, the abbreviation is in Dutch, but it stands for biological chemical phosphorus removal. So basically, it is a combination of BioP process with the chemical phosphorus removal. which was also tested here in the Netherlands. The next group of processes are processes which deal with the nitrogen removal, and I would mention here Sharon process. Sharon actually stands for single reactor system of high activity ammonium removal over nitrite, and Anamox is today a famous process which is also applied worldwide, and it stands for anaerobic ammonia oxidation. These are also bacteria which are present in the nature, but this is the first time that these Anamox bacteria, you can see them here on the photo, reddish bacteria, are really used for wastewater treatment. And what is interesting about them is that actually they don't follow the, let's say, conventional nitrogen removal cycle, transformation of nitrate, nitrite, and so on to the nitrogen gas, but they make some very interesting shortcuts, which makes this process very interesting for the application in practice. So in about the same time, and Sharon was developed, also we have witnessed Cannon process. A Cannon process stands for completely autotrophic nitrogen removal over nitrite, and basically these processes were originally applied for side stream processes in wastewater treatment plant. So these are the processes which comes out from the sludge treatment in a wastewater treatment plant and are recycled to the beginning of the treatment plant. And they are not so big by flow, but they are really very highly loaded. So the innovation on that part was really pushed by the Dutch wastewater practice and supported by the Dutch organization, Dutch Association for Research in Wastewater, called STOA. Such research also was behind the developments on aerobic granular sludge. So now I'm not talking about anaerobic granular sludge, I'm talking about aerobic granular sludge, which was commercially patented and called Nereda, also available by one Dutch company. And nowadays there are more, I think, than 40 or 50 treatment plants in the world who are applying this process. The secret of that is morphology of the microorganisms, which are clustering in forms of granules and performing different type of processes at different layers of the granules, coming from outside to inside, and on the other side, these processes are also reducing the size and footprint of the treatment plant. And you can see on the photo on the left hand side the comparison of the conventional activated sludge process and granules after only 5 minutes of settling. You can see the big difference. Further on, there is also a process which is which is developed in Delft, but not necessarily globally applied. It's called BABE, and BABE stands for bioaugmentation batch enhanced process. And all these processes now that I mentioned, from BCF, as Sharon, Anamox, Cannon, Nereda, and BABE, were co-developed at the Delft University of Technology with Professor Mark van Loosdrecht being behind that, with, of course, with a bigger team, which often includes Dutch practice and Dutch water boards and Dutch industry. The aerobic airlift reactor was originally developed by Professor Sef Heinen, who worked in his Brocades and later on moved to Delft University of Technology. And the last one on my list of wastewater treatment innovations which come from the Netherlands is in the brackets, and it's called SUNY. And the SUNY stands for sulfite reduction autotrophic denitrification and nitrification integrated. What does it mean? It's basically removal of the treatment of wastewater by using a sulfate present in a wastewater. And I put here in the brackets because the Dutch were really involved in this research, but the major developments were done in Hong Kong, in China, where seawater was used for sanitation, for toilet flushing, and that was the reason why the sulfate became important in a treatment because sulfate comes into wastewater pipes through the flushing of toilets by clean seawater. So next to wastewater treatment in the Netherlands, we are very much interested in resource recovery, and we don't see wastewater as a waste. We see it as a resource, and there are numerous systems who developed struvite from wastewater, specifically from urine. And here it's important that urine is separated from feces, so we can be efficiently recover struvite, which can be later on used as a manure fertilizer for agriculture. Very much research in the Netherlands is happening in the area of bioplastics, and one example of production of bioplastics from microorganisms in form of PHA. PHA stands for polyhydroxyalkylonate, and that is a booming industry.
On the session. Wastewater treatment subject.
Hello, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. So the next one is the alginate. It's also compound that is normally taken from the sea and from the algae, but we can also recover it from the wastewater activated sludge. And of course, the world in the area where we have vipers, and we divide world vipers and washers, and vipers are using the toilet papers, and the tons of toilet papers, which is basically cellulose, ends up in a sewage, and we want to recover this cellulose. Even I think up to 25% of carbon, of particulate carbon in wastewater comes from the cellulose. And as we heard at the beginning in the introduction of Paul, the energy recuperation from the sewage is very important, and we have some examples in the Netherlands. And also we have now a new trend in last, let's say, 10 years, which is called wastewater treatment plants as energy factories. And you could hear also in previous presentation that some wastewater treatment plants are energy neutral, and many of them recover enough energy to at least cover their needs for aeration. And all this, what I said now, and about the future of wastewater treatment plant, Professor van Loosdrecht and I put in a little article which was published in Science, and you can read more in that article if you are interested in this topic. Then I would like to move into the second part of my presentation, which deals with the non-sewer sanitation. Non-sewer sanitation, fecal sludge management, or as we in India have discussion, is it fecal sludge and septic sludge? So don't worry, it's about non-sewer sanitation, fecal sludge treatment, and septic sludge treatment. And a big role in this development globally played, or still playing, Bill Gates and his foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who launched an event called the Reinvent the Toilet Fair. And you can see also our King of the Netherlands, His Royal Highness, the King of Orange, who also joined this event. And I was there personally as invited person, and we had wonderful chats there. And that was trigger to developments of many new technologies for non-sewer sanitation. And here I will present only examples where I personally, my institute and my team were involved, of course, doing it in partnership with other organizations. So my first example is ESOS, a smart toilet that we developed with the funding from the Gates Foundation. And we tested that smart toilet in the Philippines, in the refugee camps in Tacloban, and we got fantastic results. So the smartness of this toilet, you can find what is that about in all these links that I put there. But the smartness here was really geared to improve the usability of toilets, operation and maintenance, and managing the dislodging and also security of these toilets. This toilet was not really designed for any type of treatment. This was only gearing to reduce operation and maintenance cost and to improve the total sanitation chain management in emergencies. The next example is the application of this toilet. That is the second generation of the toilets that we, let's say, improved to technology readiness level 7. You know that there are 9 technology readiness levels. 9 means commercial exploitation. These toilets are close to commercial exploitation. They are built and tested in Kenya with the support of the Dutch government and Asian Development Bank. We built these 3 examples of these toilets and put them in semi-urban areas in Kenya, in Nairobi, and also tested. We also have developed a program, software, which would monitor 1, 2, up to many thousands of these toilets in the same time and improve and optimize the entire sanitation chain using the technology which is hidden in these toilets. So some results from this research inspired me and my team to think about how the toilets can be used for medical purposes. So we wanted to merge the sanitation development with the medical technologies. So how could we use the toilets to detect the diseases, not to diagnose, not to replace the role of the doctor, but to give a preliminary diagnosis of a potential patients for several diseases. And we developed a Medilu toilet, which one version is like this, which is actually a beautiful outbreak technology, which is still under development and can be applied for detection, hopefully for at least dozen of different diseases which are happening in developing countries. Next to that, we also developed a concept called Medilu Bathroom, which will also bring these innovations also for, let's say, for the rich, because we are all people and we all need early detection. So we are here developing innovations from the mirror, where we have different technologies, from the toothbrush, smart toothbrush, to the weight balance, which is under the tail and going into the toilet bowl. And we have everywhere technology, sensors, and they are all non-invasive. That's very important. So the approach here is to use technologies which are available, which are adapted to these innovations. And when you enter to this toilet, you don't have to do anything else that you normally do, and you get your results. And we take care here about ethics and privacy. And this approach can be used for individual health check. It can be used for the longitudinal checks of groups of people or individuals, or it can be used for large events like religious events, armies, refugee camps, airports, boats, ships, and so on. So there's a huge area of applicability of this innovation. And we also developed something called the shit killer. That is a innovative approach to deal with the septic and fecal sludge. The more concentrated sludge, the more we like it. And we developed this shit killer, which is called also techno sanitizer for the area that don't like to hear the word shit. So it is based on microwave technology, on microwave radiation, and we can bring fecal sludge to a very inert form and reduce the volume to up to 95%, and we can recover all water which is released there, and we can clean that water to the level of ultra pure water using nanofiltration and ultrafiltration. So we can really reuse all water which is there and get inert fertilizer from fecal sludge and septic sludge. The first application, the first big time application, so let's say pilot scale, as you could see on this photo, we did it in Jordan with really wonderful results. And we also expect that we can also detect, actually not detect, but destroy also COVID, because we did a test with the different microorganisms, but we believe that we could also destroy the COVID in feces. And one of my last slide is something that is really new, like just a couple of months ago, Professor Savic, CEO of one company, of one institute in the Netherlands, and myself developed a system called DEMOS, and this stands for Digital Epidemic Observatory System for epidemics management. And here we integrate really all knowledge that we could put at this moment, which deals with the COVID presence in a sewer system and in non-sewer sanitation units like toilets. And we use all digital innovation technology to get this data, to deal with this data, and to transfer this data into knowledge and wisdom in sophisticated softwares, which could be applied in very simple way, with very simple interaction interfaces with people. And we are really developing this in this direction very, very fast at the moment. So the last part is about education. It will take me 2 minutes, please. And it's about something extremely important, because these technologies that I showed you, where the Netherlands is paving the way already for decades, and is recognized as one of the most fertile countries in the world concerning wastewater, and nowadays also non-sewer sanitation, requires also people. And we recognize that around, let's say 10 years ago, where my institution, IHE Delft, really put tremendous efforts in improving our mission regarding sanitation. And in this journey, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation helped us tremendously. So with the help of Gates Foundation, we established a global sanitation graduate school. This is the world's largest mechanism for capacity development in CWISE. CWISE is a citywide inclusive sanitation. And at this moment, we are focusing on Sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. What is the Global Sanitation Graduate School? Global Sanitation Graduate School is actually organization, a platform which takes as a basis the Delft-based new master on non-sewer sanitation that we developed in cooperation with 150 global experts on sanitation. We tested it also in Chennai during the FSM 4 event, I think FSM 4 or FSM 5, and we also tested it with people from India, Bangladesh, Nepal, so that we get really a global knowledge and input. This Delft-based program that we already run now for 3 years in the Netherlands, we have been transferring already for 2 years to 41 universities all over the world. At this moment, we have our master program from the Netherlands running at more than 25 organizations, institutes, universities in Africa and Asia. By the end of the next year, we will have about 50 universities taking on this program. This is a unique program which is developed in the Netherlands. And unlike other curricula in the world where universities are kind of embracing it and not really sharing with the rest of the world, we are sharing with the rest of the world, and all materials are open access and accessible to everyone. So any university which is not on the list at this moment, and you can see here all these dots and logos, if you want to take up our program, it's free of charge. You can contact me and you can get all materials, and we can even support you in this transfer because we have this pool of people available for you. So our goal is to reach the SDGs. So by 2030, we want to develop more than 10,000, we call them sanitation champions. And these are new profile, new interdisciplinary people with the skills on developing and implementing sanitation. And we expect that from the present 100 academic institutions, we will reach more than 100 institutions, because at this moment we have a huge interest from Latin America, China, Russia, CIS countries, Eastern Europe, and Central America. So this is what we do in the Netherlands, and not only on technology level, but on education level. If you want to know more about Global Sanitation Graduate School, here's the link, sanitationeducation.org, and please contact me or any of my colleagues. So this is for now. Thank you very much, and sorry for being a little bit longer because I didn't practice this presentation. I just came from the trip this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Damir. What we will do is that we will be sharing the questions specific to you in a separate email, so that you could respond to the questions that have come up. I see a lot of questions that have come up specifically around NMOS.
Hello.
So,
Kailaji, am I audible?
Yes, Dr. Sonavne, you are audible, sir.
Very good. Okay, let him complete first and then I will join.
Okay. So, Dr. Damir, I will share all the questions with you. And just one question that I have is that you mentioned that most of these technologies are being developed in the IHE DEFT University. How scalable are they, and how soon can we look at them being implemented across the globe?
These technologies that I mentioned, some of them are really ready to be picked up by the industry, and we will be very happy to welcome companies who would like to take it to another level and to commercialize it. The role of IHE Delft is not to commercialize technology. We are there to bring technologies to this level and to make them available for the global community and definitely for the industry. So some of them, like EOS toilet, can be produced as soon as you want. The Medelu is under development. The shit killer, we are at the level where it can be produced as well if we get industry interested in it. The demos, digital observation, is also under development. So we have some technology which are ready to be taken up by the industry, and some are at very early stage of development.
So, Dr. Damir, we have received requests, in the chat box and the Q&A. I see a lot of requests for your contact details. So, I will share your presentation and the contact details with our viewers, so they can maybe directly connect with you and benefit from the tremendous work that you already have done at IHE DEFT.
Thank you. My email is on the first slide of my presentation.
So I will share the presentations with the viewers. So thank you, Dr. Damir, for this keynote address.
Thank you.
Dr. Sonavne, if you could please unmute yourself. Can you hear us? Sir, you are still muted. Ram, can we unmute Dr. Sonavne at our end?
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible now, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
So welcome, Dr. Sonavne, for this exclusive session on Jal Samrudh, Maharashtra.
Thank you.
As a senior urban planner and having worked with multiple urban local bodies in Maharashtra, my first question to you, sir, is typically, what are the issues and challenges that we face around recycle and reuse of wastewater? What are your views on this trend that is emerging around recycling?
First of all, let me begin with my sincere apologies for the inconvenience caused to you and to the viewers and listeners and participants. You see, the topic that you want me to deliberate on is the future of wastewater in Maharashtra.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And your question is quite relevant to that. The challenges that we face, we have been facing in managing our wastewater. First of all, let us now try to understand the problem in proper perspective. You see, Government of India through Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs published a draft policy on wastewater reuse and recycling, and they do not now use the term wastewater. Government of India intends to use the term now used water. The grey water or the black water, that which we earlier used to call it as a wastewater, is being termed as now used water. So if you really see the volume of wastewater generated in our urban areas, it is 61,745 MLD per day. That amounts to near about 22,550 billion cubic meter per year. So if we only consider urban area, the amount of wastewater generated is quite huge. And only 22% of it is properly collected and treated. So whatever wastewater is generated in urban area, only 22% of it is collected and it is treated. The rest of it goes to the water bodies without treatment. We have actually certain case studies in the country. For example, Hyderabad, even Okhla in New Delhi, Kolhapur, Nagpur, Pune, and Mumbai. They are the case studies which have been conducted, and we have some lessons learned. Even Bangalore has a wastewater treatment facility. But we really cannot boast of one thing. Not a single city in India has 100% coverage, has 100% collection, proper collection system in place for collection of wastewater. And the treatment facilities which are available as on today, most of the treatment facilities are not functional properly. So if we really want to define the challenges, explain the challenges that which we have been facing, the first and foremost is our cities do not have adequate and proper system of collection, do not have adequate system of treatment. And the reasons behind these problems we need to understand. You see, most of the cities, you see, the infrastructure, the human habitation came first, and then in terms of infrastructure we concentrated only on roads and water supply, that is water distribution network. We never really thought of proper collection systems for a collection of wastewater, a tertiary or secondary treatment system. And now several state governments, water is a state subject. That's why various state governments have come out with the policies. Maharashtra was the first state in India to have a policy for wastewater recycling and reuse. Way back in 2017, Maharashtra adopted that policy. Even the state of Gujarat has the policy in place. And Gujarat has the most ambitious policy in place because Gujarat is thinking of 100% reuse of wastewater. So biggest challenge as on today, which the urban managers, the city managers have been facing, is the use of appropriate technology for the treatment of wastewater. There are multiple technologies, but not a single technology has proved to be the right one, the correct one, because the technology depends on the quality of wastewater generated in the city and the quantity of wastewater generated in the city and the system of collection which is available in the cities. So most of the cities, as I said earlier, do not have proper collection system. Whatever wastewater they collect, it is treated, but again, it is not treated as per the norms prescribed by WHO. Even the norms or the criteria differ from country to country, from city to city, from state to state, but we really do not meet those standards. So in terms of technologies, the urban planners have been facing a lot of problems. Second biggest problem is funding. The treatment facilities require, the collection and treatment facility of wastewater require huge funds. And as on today, urban local bodies have been facing the problem of adequate financial support from state government, central government, and other financing agencies. So that's why this has always remained in the past, even in the present, this has always remained as a neglected subject, as a neglected domain. Besides these two important problems, the most important problem, even after the treatment facility is installed, the sustainability, the operation and maintenance of those treatment facility is another issue. The facilities are installed but are not properly operated due to inadequate manpower, untrained manpower, and due to again power supply failures, and various reasons. These three important problems are there. And even those urban local bodies who treat water, who intend to reuse that water, the problem is of acceptability. Again, if that water is to be used for industrial purpose or for agriculture purpose, people are not willing to use wastewater. Maybe there are two important reasons. As on today, we have adequate quantity of water available. That's why people are not using that treated water. And second important reason is the quality of treated water does not meet the standards required for that particular use, whether it is industrial use or agricultural use. So these are the issues. So when we talk about future of wastewater, the future of wastewater, in fact, the future of mankind lies in future of water, and future of water lies in how effectively and efficiently we collect and treat the wastewater, because the demand for potable water is growing day by day. That demand can be met only if the local bodies or the industries treat the water, adopt, for example, industries need to adopt that minimum liquid discharge policy or zero liquid discharge policy. Urban local bodies have also been mandated to recycle the water and reuse at least 30% of it. So if that 30% is reused, let me correct it. If the 30% is reused, your daily demand, daily demand can be reduced by 30%. And that 30% can be used for some non-potable purposes. If we reduce your demand of raw water, potable water, by recycling the wastewater, it will be of immense help. And in future, we will be cope up with the demand and supply side of water management. Water management is a very complex subject. I really do not want to go into details of it right now. But in the past, this has always been neglected subject. The present is very disgusting, very disappointing. We do not have adequate systems in place. And in future, I see that for private sector players, out of the case studies that I could make out, that public-private partnership will be very much required. Private sector players will have to come in picture. The latest technologies which are being used in countries like Israel, Singapore, or in European countries will have to be adopted, will have to be dovetailed properly in Indian situations. And the funding part will have to be taken care of by the local bodies, state government, central government, and private sector players.
So Dr. Sonamni, you mentioned 2 or 3 as primary challenges. One was, you said that human habitation came up first and then came the network. So obviously we can't, right now do anything on that, and we'll have to plan what best we can do. But other key thing for me, which you mentioned, was technology. That there is a huge challenge around technology. Now we recently, or just a few minutes back, saw a presentation from Dr. Damir about the various technologies available. So what exactly is the challenges that urban local bodies face when they are trying to evaluate these technologies? Is it that we are not aware about these technologies?
Honestly speaking, you see, the manpower available in urban local bodies is inadequate and inadequately trained. It's not that now they are not aware of technologies. For example, some of the municipal corporations in Maharashtra have adopted appropriate technologies. But again, sustainability, even if you use whatever technology you choose, again, that depends upon the quantity of the wastewater that is generated. So whatever technology you use, operation and maintenance is again a big issue, is again a big challenge. For example, the city like Pune or city like Mumbai Pune city generates more than 2,700 MLD per day of wastewater, city of Mumbai. Pune city generates near about 1100 MLD of wastewater per day. Nagpur city generates near about 540 MLD per day of wastewater. So the technology will depend upon the quantity of wastewater that is generated. We used decentralized sewage treatment plants in several cities. That is accepted one. And for treatment of that wastewater, we used sequential batch reactor, that is SBR technology. In rural areas, we can use phytorid technologies. So there are various technologies. People are aware. Some of the engineers working in the system, they are aware. Some of the city managers, they are aware of the system. But again, due to poor maintenance, due to improper functioning of the STPs, the quality of water that is discharged is not acceptable by the community that is going to use that water. Take example of again Pune. The wastewater treated is discharged in a river, and the farmers, they are not willing to use that water because they are afraid of one thing: if they use that water, the quality of yield may not be good, and it may degenerate or deteriorate the soil. So if farmers do not use it, then it will only add to the pollution of the river body. It will only add to the pollution of the water body and nothing else. So people are aware of latest technologies, but we are not actually very much in favor of use of those technologies.
So, Dr. Sonamni, we have a question from Rishit Hemani. He is saying, can't we create an incentive scheme for encouraging industrial users to accept the tertiary treated water?
Yeah, fortunately, you see, this is a very relevant question. You see here, Maharashtra Water Resources Regulatory Authority, while deciding the tariff, gives incentives and disincentives. So there are incentives for the industries which adopt that ZLD, zero liquid discharge policy, and the rates or the tariff for those industries is different. Even the urban local bodies which collect their wastewater and reuse at least 30% of it, the tariff system for those urban local bodies is also different, is a concessional rate. So these incentives are very much there. Government of Maharashtra has adopted the policy and provided incentives through that policy, as well as this authority through a tariff system has also encouraged these kind of incentives.
So, Dr. Sonamni, in conclusion, what would your advice or maybe suggestions be, for urban local bodies, because our audience is primarily councils and corporations from Maharashtra? How would you, maybe give them some kind of tips or roadmap as to how they can look at recycling this wastewater and maybe make it as an asset, and try to fulfill their water supply needs? Yeah.
Again, actually, I need not have to tell them. They know that that is a mandatory function of the urban local body to have a proper system of wastewater collection and treatment in place. And they do not have the liberty to pollute the water resources also. They are fined, they are penalized for polluting the water bodies. That's why my earnest and sincere request to urban local bodies will be to take it as an equal priority. Water supply is a priority. Providing clean drinking water is a priority. Likewise, whatever water they supply, 80% of is taken as a wastewater that is generated in the system. So they should install the treatment facilities. They should first of all ensure 100% collection system, 100% coverage as per service level benchmarks. And then whatever wastewater they collect has to be properly treated. Sustainability in operation and maintenance will have to be maintained. The quality of water that is discharged should be at least of B grade so that industries in the periphery of that urban local body, or the farmers in the periphery of that urban local body can use it. Take example of Nagpur, that is one of the best examples, wherein the sewage that is collected, the wastewater that is collected is treated and given to Mahajanko. Near about 130 MLD wastewater is given to Mahajanko for cooling purpose. And Nagpur Municipal Corporation earns a revenue of nearly 16 crores per year by way of royalty. Now they are also negotiating with other thermal power plants in the vicinity. And fortunately, there is a mandate from Government of India as well as from Government of Maharashtra. The power plants and the industries within the vicinity of 30 kilometers of urban local body, they are mandated to use treated water. They cannot use raw water from rivers and lakes or dams. They have to use the treated water for their purposes. So this should be taken as a very positive step from the Government of India, from the Government of Maharashtra, and urban local bodies can generate revenue. But again, this misconception should not be there. So they will not be, or they will never be able to generate the revenue equal to their expenditure on collection and treatment facility. If they try to feel that they will be able to generate or recover the entire revenue by supplying water to industries, then it is a misconception. So my advice to them will be, the rate of the treated water to be supplied to industries should always be less than the raw water which the industry is getting from Water Resource Department. So if the rates are reasonable enough, at least to cover operation and maintenance cost, not the capital cost, then urban local bodies will be in a very advantageous position. Unfortunately, urban local bodies feel that, like, again, that solid waste that is generated, the misconception is it is wealth. It is not wealth. It is a liability. It is a responsibility. Likewise, wastewater should also be treated as a liability and has to be discharged. They will be able to achieve two important goals. They can reduce their freshwater demand by treating wastewater, and second, they can reduce pollution, water pollution, and the environmental hazards, the health hazards caused to the citizens.
So thank you, Dr. Sonavne, for this wonderful session. We could have carried on, and I'm sure the viewers would have benefited a lot from your insights. But in keeping in mind the paucity of time, I would like to, thank you for taking time out of your schedule and, sharing your insights with our viewers. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I would also like to thank you for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my views. And once again, I would like to tender my sincere apology for the inconvenience caused to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Moving on, now that we have had experts and government, people sharing their views about the policy and all, in the next half of our session today, we have lined up a series of innovative technologies and case studies, both international as well as local, that would help our viewers get a perspective into the various technology solutions and options available. So now I would like to invite our next speaker for the day, Mr. Paul DeLange. He is the director of the Baucoach Group, and he's going to talk about the innovative modular decentralized wastewater treatment solutions that they have. So request all the speakers to please maintain their 10-minute timelines, please. Over to you, Paul.
Yes, I am here. Thank you for that. Yes, okay. Okay, welcome everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I am much obliged to present my presentation on decentralized wastewater treatment to you. And I hope I can bring you a very interesting story, something to consider. Of course, you see the logo here, Holland. Unfortunately, it is an older one, but I really like the tulip in there, so I kept the old logo from Holland. Okay, back. Okay, this is my first sheet, and just explaining a little bit, and all of you know that, of course, how traditional central systems will work, and after that I will tell you the decentral systems. So let's see if the slide is working. Yes. Okay, this is very logic how central systems work. You go from city to city with piping and ending up in a central wastewater treatment system. It has yeah, some disadvantage. You need a lot of time to design. It's custom made. You need to design the piping, you need to design the wastewater treatment plant. And also these plants, they're working only when 80% of the capacity designed is really going to that plant. And when you're in a developing area, it can take years, so it won't work. Of course, also in the operational costs, you have the pumping costs, energy costs, and all those pipings. And of course, it's expensive to make piping. In a country like the Netherlands, we usually take 200 euros per meter of transport pipe. Calculate what 10, 20, 50 kilometers will cost. On the other hand, we have the decentral solutions. And here you see the same villages, but in every village you make a local plant. And in this way you avoid all the designing costs and all the piping costs and piping designing costs. And you don't have a central solution anymore, no. Further advantage is, of course, you can locally reuse the effluent you're out. You're not down the mountain. No, you're on the mountain. It is pre-designed. You don't have to design anything anymore. Only the street sewage. You can do it in phases. Every time when a village has his street sewage ready, you can just connect one of those systems. It's modular, it's transportable, it is even expandable. These are units, and you start with one and you can end up with 2, 3, 4, whatever you want. And if a village is getting empty, people are moving out of this village, you can redirect it to another village. And of course, the capex and opex are a lot lower because you don't need to make that expensive transport piping. Here in short is the basis of our technology. And this is a tank, a polyester tank with an inside tank and with a rotating aerator on top. This is patented part of it. And here is a 3-stage wastewater treatment system. It's aerobic, it's anaerobic, and also you have a sludge collector. This is the basis of our design. On the left part here, and I see it's a little bit vague, but we realized that you can have, unlike in Holland, you can have soil that is like rock, so you cannot go into the ground. So it's easy to put the installations half in the ground or even completely on top of the ground. That's why I put that picture there. Okay, one very interesting thing, because one of the former speakers showed figures what the effluent needs to be. And when I quickly checked, I saw that our test results on the modular standard units is even much more below the minimum requirement and even matching the reuse requirements. So that is even without the last part that we introduced in our systems. And we use a very innovative last step of treatment, and that's UV and ozonification treatment. Why do we do that? With ozonification, we can even lower the actual test results that you look at now with 50% extra lower. So that's very good. And the UV, of course, when you want to use reuse effluent, you need to kill all the bacteria and viruses. And before you can use UV, you need the water to be, how do you call it? There cannot be many flocks into the water because the UV will not reach the bacteria and the viruses. So all that is connected together in our systems. We have a modular approach. And why did we do that? We want to make sure that everything works, and it does work. It's proven technology. Of course, you can make locally some kind of wastewater treatment system, but like mentioned before, the maintenance is also an issue, very much times an issue. They stop working at some times. Well, our modular approach is making it for sure that our systems will work at any place in the earth. Of course, if somebody drops a jerry can of oil in the sewage, every biologic treatment system will be killed. But of course, we know that it can happen, and we make sure that there is in a certain area someone available to restart those systems again. Also, modular is to guarantee that every future innovation that will come up can be adapted in our systems. And this is on the contrary with those big central systems where innovations are hard to implement. But because of the modularity, you can. And who knows in 10 years what will be available for the market as an extra. Here you have some pictures and they're just examples, but you see the biggest tower, it's 175 IE. And that's the measurement of the one modular size. And of course you can put a lot of them together. And by the way, the surface of one element is about 4 by 4 meter. So you can put them almost anywhere you want because they don't need a lot of space because of the integration of the influent buffers and the sludge buffers. They're all in the cellars. So it doesn't need much space. And for the very fast and small places, we have the modular container units. And they are 20 or 40 inhabitant equivalents. As you also can see, and it was mentioned before, that is the odor question. Well, as you can see, these are closed tanks. And the odor is very much controlled. And even by the second layer around it, the small building, you hardly have odor nuisance. Of course, this is a very important part, and that is how much does it cost? Okay, we have the estimated costs here, and of course they are not fixed. But what you see here is fully prefabbed in Holland, transported to India, and erected on site and put in progress. And there are a lot of alternatives for that. We can make some parts in India, but also you see here the UV ozonification treatment is included. An airco in every unit is included. That's only needed when the average temperatures go above 25 degrees. So, but this is, let's say, plug and play usable everywhere in the world with giving very clean, almost potable effluent. Next one, and I will show you a small animation. This is the basis, and to give you an idea how simple it is to place those elements everywhere you want. And in this example, you see it's in the ground, but like I said before, it's also possible to put them half in the ground or even totally above the ground. The only thing you need to do is to fill the surroundings with sand, because yeah, when the tanks are empty and there is a storm, we don't want the towers to fall down. So that's the only reason why that should be. This is an impression. One of those tanks here is the influent tank, and the other one is the sludge tank, and they collect. Our systems are controlled by, monitored by telemetry. So here in the Netherlands, we have an office where all the data from the world is coming, and we can see if something is misfunctioning. Sometimes we can correct it from our Dutch base, and sometimes we need to send a maintenance engineer that can be instructed and can be working for a regional water company. So again, these towers are only 4 by 4 meters. So it's no problem to put them in suburbs or small villages or in cities next to a building complex. So you can very locally do your wastewater treatment.
Paul, you have 2 more minutes.
Okay, so I'm almost ready. We have some additionals. Of course, we don't know what quality, what pollution is in the incoming water, so you can add an automatic bar screen. Also, if you have a remote area, and a lot of those installations there, we have a mobile dewatering unit. So you can take the sludge out, dewater it, put the water back into the system, and take the thickened sludge to a place where it will processed. And what I mentioned before, and this is included already, is the UV and ozonification disinfection unit. Very quickly, I will not read all of them, but I'm sure you can read them afterwards. These are all the advantages in a row. And of course, everything is very depending on the prices. But always remember, if you want to start up a sanitation project, always look at the decentral solution before you go designing a big plant or designing a big transport system. I'm very willing to give a quick price to anyone who wants to do some investigations or feasibility study, because I'm so very convinced that in many cases these systems are much more logic. And of course, it's proven technology. You don't have to reinvent every time a custom-made, custom-designed central solution. It's proven technology and it's Dutch quality. And the question is, can you think different and in your first plans already introduce these central solutions? If there is anyone having questions, please.
So Paul, we do have some questions for you.
Okay.
One Prajakta Malve is asking, what is the capacity of these modular units? Can it handle the large quantities of wastewater that Indian cities develop or generate?
I will go back to one of the pictures here. I hope everybody can see, or is it out? No, it's out, but okay.
Share it again.
I have to share it again, okay. Can you see now? Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Here you can see the modularity. So this one tower is 175. And the average capacity is 27 cubic meters a day. Maximum continuous 24, and we can handle a peak from 41 cubic meters. And what you do is to find the right amount of units to fulfill your needs. So 11750 installation, so it's 10 times the 175, has a peak maximum of 405 cubic meters a day. And of course you can double that, or you can triple that, or you can make it 10 times. But at a certain point, of course, you are going into a central solution, because that will be cheaper. It's basically simple as that.
So 2 or 3 viewers have asked this question, Paul, saying, what technique or method have you used to calculate total nitrogen in the wastewater?
It was not a calculation. Of course, we have calculations, but the calculations are based on laboratory results. So we have 3. We have the calculations that were basis. We have the laboratory measurements, and we have, of course, the in-practice managements, and they fit together. Yes. So with a pre-designed, proven technology, you can very much say what the performance will be. But I need to say, of course, you need to have a basis for your influent. If you have very polluted water with industrial components, you have to recalculate, and you have to see, okay, maybe we have to make it bigger than just with household wastewater. But basically,
No, please go ahead.
I go back here. This is why we have the influent parameters for testing. And these were the influent parameters. If they change, of course, the effluent will also change, but not one-on-one. It's a calculation we can do for you, for everybody who is interested. If we know the amount of cubic meters a day, if we know how the influent is polluted with normal house water, or is there a lot of salt from factories, then it will be difficult. But we can give you an indication what it will cost, and we can give it within a few days. So I invite everybody who is interested, just mail me, and I'll make you a price indication.
So Paul, I'll take one final question. I will share the questions with you separately from the people. So one question that Nishant Sen has sent is, what kind of pumps will be suitable on this? Is it submersible sewage pumps or surface sewage pumps?
The pumps inside of these systems are very simple. In the influent tank, we have a shredder pump. And that one will pump the influent up into the system. Outside the systems, we don't know. Nobody knows, because you don't know if it's a mountain area or a flat area or a swamp. We don't know. So this is exclusive, the pumping outside our systems. But in our systems, there are very simple shredder pumps, and you can always have some on store by replacement. They are very simple. And if the question was about the aeration, it's a rotating bulb aerator, and it's a patented solution. And of course, we can send more info on specific questions.
So Paul, I will share the questions with you, and I would request you if you could find some time to, answer those questions directly to our viewers.
Yes, I will, of course, and as soon as possible.
Thank you, Paul, for taking time out and sharing this technology with us.
Thank you also, and I wish you a very fruitful day.
Thank you, Paul. So moving on, like I shared with you, we are going to have in the next, part of the webinar today, interesting case studies, both from the Dutch as well as India. So moving to our next presentation, I would now like to invite Mr. Davy Ringroot. He's going to be talking about case studies from Dutch utilities on the wastewater side, so specifically for the cities of Tilburg and Hengelo. So over to you, Davy.
Thank you, Kailash, and good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to present on sludge treatment in the Netherlands and to present also some case study from two projects that were realized in the Netherlands. Are you? Can you confirm you can see the screen, please, Kailash?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Yeah, very good. Then here we go. So I will present today a bit on the structure of the Dutch water market and very specifically on the role of the waterschappen or water authorities, which is very typical for the Netherlands. And then I also will explain how sludge management is organized in the Netherlands. And then finally, I will present two case studies that were built in the Netherlands as an example of sludge management. And then I will also present some final conclusions. So first, on the role of the Dutch water authorities. In the Netherlands, water is organized through, water management is organized through waterschappen. And this is a bit similar to what you have in, for instance, in the UK, where you have water authorities. But the waterschappen in the Netherlands, they're already very old organizations. They were actually created during the Middle Ages to manage water levels, water quality, and manage everything around water. As I think it was Dr. Damir explained, managing water is a key issue in the Netherlands that is for a large part below the sea level. So on the right, you see how the Netherlands is organized today in 20 waterschappen or water management organizations. There's 21 left. There used to be many, many more. In the past, there were hundreds of these organizations, but the government is trying to push towards a more streamlined organization. And today, through mergers, you have 21 remaining waterschappen or water authorities. What is very specific is that these are public organizations. So the water is managed through public organizations, but not in municipalities, in organizations that are much bigger than local municipalities. So all in all, in the Netherlands, these waterschappen, they manage water for approximately 17 million people. That's the amount of inhabitants in the Netherlands, although that is probably less than the whole of Mumbai, I understand. But in total, the waterschappen, they own and operate approximately a bit over 300 large wastewater treatment plants. They treat about 2 billion cubic meters of wastewater per year. They also manage other aspects of water, but I will not focus on that today. What is, however, really important is that these waterschappen, they have a very big focus on innovation. And that is, I think, one of the key drivers for the success of the Dutch water sector. So Professor Damir presented a lot of innovations in the Netherlands, and I think that many of these innovations have seen the light thanks to this innovative way of organizing tenders and projects by the end customers, which are the public water authorities. They also have defined within the 21 water authorities the goal to become energy neutral in 2025, and that has actually stimulated a lot of new ideas and a lot of new projects. And so the waterschappen have also defined this concept of energy factories and resource factories, and I will present that a bit in more detail. So energy factories is an idea that was developed by one of the Dutch water authorities, one called Aan Maas, after an innovation call. And the initial idea was that to build wastewater treatment plants in a way that they become energy neutral. So several other water authorities signed up for the idea, but it was also expanded, not just recovering energy, but also recovering a lot of additional resources, such as cellulose, phosphate. Struvite was presented also earlier today, but today there are, for instance, also plants that recover CO2 and supply CO2 from a wastewater treatment plant to one of the greenhouses in the Netherlands. Comera is a kind of a biochemical that is recovered from Nereda sludge. So there is a lot of ideas and a lot of projects to recover energy and resources from water and sludge. And I'm presenting some results. This is kind of an overview in these graphs of all the different energy factories that are being built and developed in the Netherlands. You also have phosphate factories, cellulose factories, water factories, etc. So a huge amount of activity in the Netherlands. And if you want to see details on all these projects, I can recommend you visit the site of the Energy and Resource Factory project, which I've given the link here, and you will find all details on those projects. So some words on sludge management in the Netherlands. So as I said, there's approximately 17 million people in the Netherlands, and the total volume of sludge generated by these 17 million people, knowing that almost all sewage in the Netherlands is collected and treated, so there is a very high degree of connection and treatment. Overall, there is approximately 1.4 million tons of dewatered sewage cake that is being produced from the individual wastewater treatment plants. This is mostly digested sludge. So these amounts are after digestion. These are the amounts that are sent to some kind of final disposal. And in the 1.4 million tons of wet cake, this is the water cake. It represents approximately 320,000 tons of dry solids per year that are disposed. And in terms of disposal, all the sludge in the Netherlands is disposed through some kind of incineration. Actually, the law is written in a way that sludge has to be incinerated. So there is no allowance, for instance, for composting of sludge or land application. And this is driven by a number of reasons, but I think that one of the main reasons is that in the Netherlands, or actually in the whole of Benelux region, the whole area is already overloaded with nutrients. So we have very high levels of phosphorus in the soil and in the groundwater, and our governments are trying to reduce the amount of nutrients that are being put on land. So this has created a situation where sludge is incinerated either directly in mono or co-incineration, or after some kind of drying. Some sludge is also exported to be incinerated abroad, like in Germany. So I've presented an overview of the sludge disposal facilities in the Netherlands, and actually about half of, or even more than half of all the sludge cake that is produced in the Netherlands is incinerated in one of two large-scale mono incinerators, which you see you see the pictures at the bottom left of my slide. There's two plants that treat together approximately 800,000 tons of wet cake in mono incinerators. And of course, incineration is an expensive way to manage sludge, and together, so the high disposal cost together with the requirement to recover energy and become more energy efficient has driven a lot of projects into developing these energy factories. And 5 energy factories have been built in the Netherlands with thermal hydrolysis, which is a technology to improve digestion and dewatering. And I will present 2 cases of these energy factories that have been built in the Netherlands. So first one is the energy factory in Hengelo. And Hengelo is a plant owned by the Waterschap Vechtstromen, which is on the eastern side of the Netherlands, close to the German border. The water authority manages water for approximately 800,000 people equivalent. And the business case of the specific plant, Hengelo, the main idea here was to realize one centralized sludge treatment facility for all the sludge in the region. So historically, this water authority has different sites, but they decided to centralize everything at Hengelo. Hengelo is a 200,000 people equivalent wastewater treatment plant, but it now treats the sludge for 800,000 people equivalent. And it allowed to maximize the existing assets. At the bottom of the picture, you see 3 large egg-shaped digesters, and by retrofitting them with thermal hydrolysis, the capacity of these digesters can be tripled, which allowed the plant to realize this centralized sludge treatment facility. It also allowed to shut down one of the other digester plants at Enschede, which without this project would have required a completely rebuild and refurbishment of that plant. So they saved some money in the refurbishment. And the focus was to improve energy generation from sludge, but also to reduce the amount of final sludge that has to be sent to the incineration plant. So in terms of solution, a centralized sludge treatment facility was built for approximately 18,000 tons of dry solids per year. About 25–30% of this is primary, the rest is biological sludge. A Cambi thermal hydrolysis system was installed at site with all the ancillaries. And what is maybe interesting to mention is that this was contracted directly between the Waterschap and the technology supplier based on an open negotiation tender. Again, the goal was to maximize the use of the existing assets, the large digesters. 2 megawatts of renewable electricity generation was installed through 3 cogeneration engines. The dewatering was strongly improved by application of the thermal hydrolysis, dewatering now to above 30%. And also one Anamox system was added to manage the reject water treatment from the sludge digestion. So on the bottom picture, you see the plant as it's been realized today. From right to left, you can see a building with the pre-dewatering machinery. Then there is a thermal hydrolysis plant with 2 hydrolysis reactors. You see a building with the boiler infrastructure. Finally, there are 3 gas engines to produce electricity. You see the gas balloon and the flare, and all the way to the left is the Anamox plant that removes the ammonia from the reject water. So in terms of results of this plant, it's been in successful operation since 2016. The project allowed the customer, the water authority, to increase their energy self-sufficiency by 30%. So they're closing their gap towards a circular economy. Again, the aim is for all the waterschappen to become energy neutral by 2025. So these projects contribute massively to that goal. And also it provides an improvement, not just for the waterschap, but throughout the whole value chain of sludge management. It allowed for a strong reduction in disposal volumes towards the mono incineration plant, but more importantly, or additionally, the ratio of organics to water in the remaining sludge was improved. So there is more organics compared to water, which improves the incineration properties of the sludge, allowing autothermal incineration of the remaining sludge. So it improves the situation for the water authority, but also improves the situation at the incineration plant. And finally, and of course also very important, the investment was financially attractive to the customer. They had to do, of course, an investment in this centralized facility. There was a net investment in Hengelo minus the savings in Enschede. There was a saving in operational expenses of about $2 million per year, and finally that calculates in a payback of approximately 8 years. Then a second project, quite similar project, but for another waterschap in the Netherlands, now for waterschap de Dommel, which is...
Maybe you have 2 more minutes.
Okay, 2 more minutes, then I have to go through quickly. So this water board also realized a centralized sludge treatment facility in Tilburg for a slightly bigger capacity, 26,000 ton dry solids per year. Similarly, a THP plant was built to manage the sludge and allow for a higher loading in the digesters. Also, an Anamox system and a Fospak system was built to recover ammonia or remove ammonia and recover struvite. And in terms of results, plant has been in operation since 2016, producing a lot of biogas for CHP and gas upgrading, reduces sludge amounts, and improves, like in Hengelo, the incineration efficiency. I should mention that the struvite recovery in this plant is not fully in operation. And then finally, based on what I presented, some conclusions. So the Dutch structure of waterschappen is quite special and is also important because it allows for a centralized vision on the management of sludge and water instead of a local focus, let's say. So they are able to look at the bigger picture. The waterschappen also are very supportive towards innovation. And they have now this goal to achieve energy neutrality and to reduce their carbon footprint and recover resources. So several successful projects were realized based on this vision. I presented 2 examples of that. And I think the message from the Netherlands and from these projects is that selecting the right technology and having a master plan when it comes to, for instance, sludge management is extremely important. And with that master plan, you can select the right technology for a future-proof plant with low OPEX and low carbon footprint. And we also suggest that a close involvement of these key technology providers is really important to get a successful project. And with that, I end my presentation and I open the floor for questions.
Thank you, Davy, for this wonderful presentation. I'll see in the Q&A box if we have any questions or on the chat that's there with me. So one of the questions that is coming up is that you mentioned the Tilburg and the Hengelo case studies, but how how would you recommend THP as a solution to the I would say the ever increasing problems that Indian cities face around their sludge management issues? Because I'm not sure there is any, or I'm sure there is no THP solution in India currently, though I'm aware of multiple corporations that are evaluating them.
Well, I'm not a specialist on India, but I also agree that there are no THP plants in India. But today, THP plants have been built in 24 countries around the world. So I think also for India, it could be a game-changing technology because it allows you, first of all, to centralize your sludge treatment and get much more revenue from sludge. And it also allows you to strongly reduce the sludge volumes, and removing water and reducing the volume is key to any sludge management option, whether you want to go to incineration like in the Netherlands, but also landfill or land application. And additionally, if you want to go for land application, I think the benefit of thermal hydrolysis is that it provides a guaranteed pathogen removal, which is extremely important, of course, if you want to recycle sludge to agriculture.
So thanks, Devi, for this wonderful, case studies that you have shared. And I will be more than happy to share the QA questions that we have from the audience with you and request you to take time out to address them.
Yes, absolutely. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me.
Thank you. Thanks, Devi. I will be sharing this presentation with all the viewers.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Moving on to our next innovative technology, I would now like to invite Professor Eldon Raj. He is a senior lecturer at the IHE Deft Institute of Water Education, and he's going to talk about the Pavitra Ganga project. Over to you, Eldon.
Thank you so much, Kailash, and thanks for this nice introduction. I will be sharing my screen now. Can you see?
Yeah, we can see you.
Can you make it full screen, Eldon?
Just
Yes,
click on from beginning at this.
Yes.
The slideshow, you can just click on from beginning.
I'm not able to see the.
To your left, you can see from beginning on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Kailash, and also thanks for organizing this very nice event. And I'm very glad on behalf of the Pavitra Ganga project members that I would like to share the ongoing activities that we have initiated between EU and India. So this is a project that was funded by the Horizon 2020, and also that was co-funded by the Department of Biotechnology, the Government of India. And the project is titled as Unlocking the Wastewater Potential for Treatment, Wastewater Reuse, and Resource Recovery. But it was also focusing on the opportunities for urban and peri-urban areas in India. So this is a joint effort by 14 partner institutes from the EU and India, and it has a lot of ambitions, but these ambitions also lead to a lot of demonstration of innovative technologies that has been applied in both India as well as in the EU. So these are some of the specific objectives of the Pavitra Ganga project. It's to create a policy and social support mechanism for all these innovative technologies. And it is also aimed at mapping, evaluating, and improving promising wastewater treatment and reuse technology by considering the local conditions. So this is one of the criteria of this project, that we really have to demonstrate something at the drains, that by simulating by considering the real conditions. And also there is a work package that also deals with the quality and quantity monitoring, control, and management of water resources. And the focus of today's presentation will be on selected innovative technologies for real wastewater challenges in the Indian setting at two of the demonstration sites. So these sites are, one of them is in New Delhi and the other one is in Kanpur. And then there is also, like in any of these proposals, we also aim at capacity building, knowledge sharing, and also a lot of innovations in demonstration and also dissemination activities. So this whole project has different work packages. There is a lot on management aspects and also, of course, policy, then technological aspects. So these are the two demonstration sites in India. You can see here, this is the Jajmau wastewater treatment plant that is based in Kanpur. And as many of you know, Kanpur is an industrial city with a lot of tanneries. So once we have tanneries, we can obviously expect a lot of metal-related pollution and also high COD, high COD wastewater. And in the New Delhi site, is the Barapula drain. The Barapula drain, it actually discharges wastewater from 3.4 million New Delhi citizens, and the drain receives around 1.25 million liters of wastewater. So these are mostly domestic wastewater from the household and also some of these small industries that are located. So we have these two sites, and in our research, what we are doing is we have developed a photo sequencing batch reactor, which has been tested at the laboratory here in IHE Delft. And the next step is to do a scale up for 1,000 liters per day. So this is more at the pilot level. We are not going for full scale systems. So this is the Barapula drain that you will see. So on the left side of this is where we are going to have this pilot scale system installed. But this is also the site for the ongoing Lotus project that is also between the EU and India. So at the left side, we have a small laboratory with all these testing facilities and also facilities for online monitoring. But when you look at this photo in the center, which is zoomed here now, and you can see here that we cannot directly take the water from the drain. So it has to be first filtered because it has a lot of floating solid waste, plastics, and so many other things. So that has to be first filtered. Then of course it has a lot of suspended solids, and it depends on the technology what we are going to apply. We do this primary treatment. So in this technology package that is called the work package 3, WP3, we have clean blocks, we have photo activated sludge, which is the focus of my research at IHE. Then we have constructed wetlands plus, we have aquatrack combined with ozonation, we have the anti-coast technology, we have a MBR, we have structured adsorbent, and we have an aerobic membrane reactor technology. So we cannot cover all this, so I will cover a few of them here. So before we go, each of these work packages are also divided into sub-tasks. So there are 3 tasks in this work package. The first task was to identify the boundary conditions for technology development under Indian conditions. So if we want to really implement something that is at that considers the local situations, we need a lot of data sharing on water quality criteria, water quality indices, and also, of course, the discharge standards. And in task 2, it was about laboratory experiments for different types of wastewater and also the reuse technologies. And in this technology, in this task, we also focused on resource recovery as a possibility, because it's not only on treatment, it's also at the same time to look at the possible resources that can be recovered from different technology. For example, it can be in the form of methane, and it can be in the form of platform chemicals. It can also be in the form of nutrients. And in our case, because we used an algal bacterial bioreactor, so we were looking more at the lipid content. Okay, and in task 3.3, it was the laboratory experiments for selected resource recovery technologies, which is also ongoing. And then finally, we take these results from work package 3 and we give it to the next work package, the 5th work package, where we have the demo. So there is a coordination between different work packages. So the first thing that I would like to, the first technology I wanted to show here is what we call as the clean blocks. These clean blocks are nothing but special blocks of materials that you can see here that are cubes. They are produced from mineral wool, or it can also be produced from different materials. It depends on the locally available conditions. You can have these nice blocks which can be produced, and they offer very high porosity, and they are normally used to treat the water by biological activity within the material. So once you have high porosity, you'll obviously have very good facility for biofilm growth. And with this biofilm, we can achieve nutrient removal, and it also, in many cases, it will act as a pre-treatment step for further technologies. So it would also remove these suspended solids. And from a resource recovery viewpoint, the group based in TU Delft, that is with Steve, they are now also doing, they're also looking at how struvite can be recovered from the Barapola drain water. Okay, so there are different aspects that have been used, and you can also see if we really apply that, this is how it would look in practice. These are basically like filters, which are not just physical filters, but it also has biological activity. And they had done a lot of experiments at different flow velocities, at different filter length, and there are some interesting results that has been achieved now. And the next step will be probably in December. Yeah, we had a delay with this project because of the COVID situation, and we were not able to manufacture many of these experimental setup locally. So we have now placed the order for all these technologies, and probably around December end, we will have all these systems installed in both Kanpur and in New Delhi. And the second system that I would like to talk here is about another innovative technology that is aimed at mostly monitoring. Okay, and this is a technology that is based from Sweden. It is called AquaQ, and AquaQ, together with IIT Delhi, IIT and IIT Delft, together with IIT Kanpur as well, they are working together to demonstrate what they call as Aqua Track and Aqua Innovate. And in this case, it is more about monitoring of contaminants, and they are also aimed at on-site monitoring. So these are basically small cabins that have all these monitoring equipments, and we are also planning to have both of them installed in both Kanpur and in Delhi. So the idea here would be not to collect grab samples, but to take online measurements. And by taking online measurements, we'll probably know if there is any event of any possible event of a failure, or if we are probably expecting any overloads or pollutant. And this technology that was developed by AquaQ is also now aimed at testing or monitoring micropollutants. So this is something that has been under development, and they have tested it at a local effluent plant in Sweden. So this is also something that has been aimed now. And one of the biggest problem with at least the Barapola drain that I know is the monsoon time. You will have a lot of excess water that is coming. So that is also something that has to be taken into account. So these flow variations and these diurnal fluctuations have to be monitored. Okay, so that is one of the idea here. And the third technology that I want to tell is an aerobic MBR system. And this system was also developed by my colleague from IIT Delft, and it combines the advantages of a conventional activated sludge system, and it also combines the operational advantages of membrane bioreactor. So these are a kind of integrated system that has been developed at IIT, and you can see here all the advantages of this system. And it was also tested at the pilot scale in a demonstration project between IIT and an aquaculture farm in Cuba. And we are also planning to take this system now to the next level for installation, and that will probably start operation from January. But before at the lab scale, we did some few experiments in the lab, but I'm not able to get those results to show here. But I will show you. I will share you the link of the whole project, where you can find a lot of details, and you will be also able to contact all these work package leaders as well as also the individual members from different organizations. Okay, and
Eldon, you have 2 more minutes.
Okay, yes, yeah. And the technology that we developed here was what is called a PSBR, which is a photo sequencing batch reactor. And this is nothing but it combines the advantages of a sequencing batch reactor and a photobioreactor. So we operated 2 bioreactors by varying the cycle length, and of course by taking advantage of the light and the dark circles, period of operation. And in one of the reactor, we passed carbon during the light cycle, and in the night cycle it was nitrogen. In this way, the whole idea was to induce stress on the algal photobioreactor. And in the second system, we combined both this type of wastewater that has carbon and nitrogen, and it was passed in both the cycles of operation. So, of course, this is quite a typical figure where you see the increase in biomass with operation time. And after some time, we found that what we wanted was algal growth, but after some time, we found that there was more bacteria in the system. So we had to really add some inhibitors, as you can see here. We add some inhibitors for reducing the bacterial growth. So these are some of the nice results that we got during the day, dark, and the night cycles that you can see with the sunlight and the moon. Here we divided into different phases, some very interesting results, and we were also able to demonstrate high lipid productivity. And now the next step for the demonstration would be go a little step further, where we will try to see if this algal growth can be harvested to get all these nutraceutical compounds. Okay, so that is more from a resource recovery platform chemical viewpoint. And these are the steps that we are now planning to operate a raceway pond, but it will not be as a normal raceway pond, but we want it to be in a sequencing batch mode of operation. So if you want more details, I will be happy to give you these design values as well. But this was for a pilot of 1,000 liter capacity per day. And we have also conducted several tailor-made training programs as a part of our activity at IHG Delft. And this was done with IIT Guwahati on women empowerment and the autonomy of women through a bio-based circular economy. So this was something that we did in 2019 in Guwahati. And I would like to also say that we have a few upcoming events in India. And in 2022 and 2023, we are planning 6 workshops. As you can see here, they are on decision support system, safety planning for wastewater reuse, or now we call it as water reuse, then benchmarking different quality and the use of mobile monitoring solutions. So there are a whole set of nice deliverables that we have, and we are planning to have the similar kind of workshop, but we don't want to do it online. Hopefully in 2022-23, we will have this face-to-face in India. But this is also one of the deliverables of the project. Okay, so with that, I would like to thank you all for your kind attention. And if there are questions, I would like to take the question. Thank you.
So, Eldon, we are running behind schedule. So what I will do is I'll share the questions with you that we have, and maybe you could answer them directly with the people online over email.
Yeah, by email. Yes, that is better. Yeah?
So thank you, Eldon, for sharing the Pavitra Ganga project details with us. Moving on, I would now like to invite Jabs to be a co-founder and director for BlueCon, and he's going to talk about wastewater to reusable water. Over to you, Jab.
Hello, good afternoon at your site, and it was a wonderful day, and I would like to have the opportunity to present our new technology. Today I've heard a lot of biological treatment plants, but I'm now finding a solution to share the screen, so wait a minute.
We can see your screen. Can you make it full screen, please?
Yes, please. Wait a moment.
Yes,
we
we
have,
can.
yeah, okay, that's wonderful. Now we have Bluecon is a company which is founded in 2014. And the reason we founded this company because we wanted to introduce a new technology of physical treatment of wastewater, domestic wastewater. And in fact, what we did is we didn't believe in biological treatment plant because that was always depending on environmental conditions and temperature, and there is a lot of load of contamination, there is a lot of water, of no water. So we developed a system which has which runs 24/7 the whole day without any stops and goes. So, and what the reason why we did this, because we think that by treating wastewater, we can unlock the potential for agriculture development. We've been in a lot of countries all over the world, such as Chile, Morocco, but also in India. And we see there is a lot of good water for agricultural use. And by using wastewater, I think it can be a tremendous opportunity. So that's why we are making, we have made a unit which for demonstrations, and in the last 4 years we have a lot of demonstrations been doing in Chennai, for example, in the 1 year ago, and also in Chile and in Morocco. And the results were astonishing. And what we want to do is that we are treating the wastewater to the present regulations for reusing the water for agricultural use. So in our process, we are talking about a capacity of 1 MLD per day. And there is only two results of two effluents, is clean water and primary sludge. It's not digested sludge, so it's primary sludge because we are using a physical treatment system. And that physical treatment system is based on coagulation and flocculation. And we do this in such an enhanced way that we are enabled to remove all the most important contaminations in the first step. After the first step, we are filtrating on 70 micron to remove all the floating particles, and then we have the last polishing step for disinfection and oxidation to remove nitrogen, and also to remove extra COD and BOD. Because of the new regulations in India, we see that the COD level must be below 50 milligrams per liter. And with our last polishing step, we can achieve that. And what is the big advantage of our system? Instead of big, large infrastructural systems, we are installing these units into standard sea containers, which can be installed in approximately a few days. And it is a plug and play situation, so it can run directly. And in fact, this is a sample design of one of the units we are wanting to build in India, because at this moment we are talking with the government of Tamil Nadu together with our partner over there, Mas Aqua in Chennai, to build these units in India, because it will create a lot of economy, but also it creates a lot of employability. And that is very important for the Indian situation. And we only deliver the software from the Netherlands, and the rest can be built locally. And this unit is of 40-foot container is good for approximately 1 MLD per day. What is also very important, because we have a physical treatment system, there is no secondary sludge. So the quantity of sludge is almost 1/3 below the normal situation. It's completely automatically controlled, so the operator can be low educated. It is a stop and go system, so if electric failure is there, it will stop automatically and it will start up again after the electricity is put back on. And you don't need a big investment because especially as Paul de Lange of Bouwgroep already said, you don't need any parts because you can put it decentral. Last year, we did a large demonstration of almost 2 months at the pumping station in the city of Chennai. And a lot of people were coming there and see how simple it is to start the unit and to operate the unit, because you press on the button and everything works directly. This is in the container. It's easy to operate. It's a very robust system. We are running it almost now for 4 years. So all the child diseases are removed, and we are now implementing these units in Romania, in Serbia, and in Chile. And you will see here some photos of the demonstrations. On the left side, you see the Minister of Water of Tamil Nadu, and on the right side, you see cows are in the neighborhood of the treatment plant just by pumping stations. If you want more information, technical information, analysis, please contact me and I will send you all the documentations together with our partner in India, that is Masakwa, and he will help you and sort out all the questions.
So thank you, Jap, for this brief presentation. I'm sure that people in India would be interested in exploring this particular technology.
Yes, I can understand that, and as you've seen, we have already done a demonstration over there, and the local authorities did a lot of RAP analysis, and we are confident that we can fulfill the new norms over there.
So we will definitely share this with all the viewers who are viewing it today. So I'm sure your contact details there being in the slide, they could touch base with you directly on this.
Yeah, they can email me and I will answer together with all my partner over there all the questions.
Thank you, Jap, for this brief presentation.
No problem at all.
Moving on, I would now like to invite Mr. Anand Iyer from the Finnish Society. He is going to present on the low max grey water treatment solution, and then we will have case studies from Mira Bhayandar and from Aurangabad. So over to you, Anand.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is a program by Maharashtra government, and I'm very happy that I am speaking from the soil of Maharashtra. I am right now speaking from Nandurbar after inspecting 2 grey water treatment plants set up by Finnish Society in Nandurbar. Okay, now I will go to the presentation. Where is my...
Okay.
You can click on the share screen button at the bottom of your Zoom control. Sir, shall I play the control for you? Shall I play the PPT for you? You're muted right now.
Sir, you are muted right now.
Anand, so you'll have to say next for me to move to the next slide.
So you can just start. You can just start discussing. He has shared the host.
Okay.
So you can start the discussion. Yeah.
So Finnish Society is an NPO, Lucknow based, and it has umbilical cord links to the government of Netherlands. Could I go to the next one? He is sharing it, I think. Yeah? And they started with sanitation, then moved to health, education. There was some sort of forward integration. They have reached the SLW area now. And over and above their core areas of capacity building, education, livelihood, financial inclusion, etc. They are sharing. Now we know what types of wastewater are coming. I'm getting confused. Why are they sharing it?
Anand, shall I play the
Excuse
slides
me,
for
are you
you?
sharing the file or I am sharing it?
Sir, I am sharing it, sir.
You are sharing it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was
Can
a
you
bit
just say
confused.
next for me whenever you want to take it further?
Okay, right. Thank you.
Yes.
So I just very briefly talked about Finnish, and we will go to the next slide. So grey water, generally what we find in the drains in small towns and villages and all, they could have household effluents coming in, and over and above household effluents, there could be fugitive effluents from industrial, commercial, institutional, and agricultural sources. And sometimes even the household effluents may contain untreated or partially treated sewage. Next. So each drain has a characteristic of its own. The flow pattern will be different. The flow rates will be different. Characteristics will differ based on the sources of effluent coming in. And because of that, the treatment systems also have to vary even for the same end use. And basically, we have to look at properties like BOD, COD, dissolved oxygen, like that. And of course, the bacteriological quality too. And the degree of treatment required is primarily based on the end use too, not just the characteristics of what is coming in. Next, please. Now, I have listed the the factors affecting the technology selection, because we are living in a technology supermarket. Actually, it is not the problem of technology. It is utilizing the most appropriate technology, which is contextually correct. Not just technology in some cases, maybe a combination of technologies too. That is a critical factor which will affect the efficiency of a treatment system. So we have the raw effluent characteristics, we have the end-use requirements, and then we have a decision matrix based on these parameters like characteristics of flow pattern, availability of land, requirement of skilled manpower, availability of skilled manpower, O&M costs, and all those things. These are described in the slide itself. And one issue which normally we find is we may have some source of fund for a capex, but when it comes to operation and maintenance, there may not be proper funding or proper system of operation and maintenance. In many cases, we find that as a limiting factor. So that also is a critical parameter in making a decision regarding selection of the technology or selection of the combination of technologies. Next, please. So these are the basic things. So I'm not going into the detail. Primary treatment, what can be there? We all know it, but just I have put the slide there. And I just wanted to point out a couple of methods of primary treatment, because that is not normally practiced, at least in India. That is use of filters like rock filters and roughing filters. Because screening almost everyone does. Oil and for removal of grit and oil and grease, you have grease traps, grit chambers. That is 2 routine. Coagulation and sedimentation in drains in grey water, it is an optional item depending on the dissolved material. And usage of rock filters and roughing filters, that is something unusual in India. That's why I'm highlighting those 2. And regarding the slow sand filters and rapid gravity sand filters, which I have mentioned, that is not generally used for grey water. Generally, they are used only for drinking water. But there could be specific cases, end-use specific, for grey water, where we may have to adopt using slow sand filters or rapid gravity sand filters. Next, please. And secondary treatments, it can be chemical, biological, and natural. We try to focus more on natural systems. Natural means it is actually engineered mimic of natural treatment system, like constructed wetlands, nutrient film technology, and like that. But the core focus which we apply is on usage of constructed wetlands. And for using constructed wetlands, there are several reasons, because it is basically a solar powered treatment system. It is just like any mechanized treatment system. It has all the components, all the processes of a mechanized system, but it doesn't require external energy by means of electricity. But the energy requirement for plants to absorb oxygen from the atmosphere and send it through the roots, that energy requirement is made available by the plants themselves by processing solar energy. So I call a constructed wetland a solar powered sewage treatment system. Next, please. And tertiary treatment, again, it is end-use specific. We may require sedimentation, flotation, sometimes disinfection, sometimes dechlorination, and sometimes additional filtration with pressure sand filters or whatever. Again, it's all end-use specific. Next, please. Grey water with high organic load. Grey water with high organic load can be from industrial effluents, fugitive effluents coming from industries using organic raw materials. Of course, human feces by fugitive discharges from toilets or overflows from septic tanks. Then, of course, animal waste. You always find animal waste entering the drains in small villages. And sometimes, due to poor solid waste management system in the local body, some solid waste too, through mismanagement, it may reach the drain. So all these things will add to the organic load of the grey water, which is reflected in terms of BOD and COD. Next, please. Treatment just for disposal in land or a water body. Second is value addition for processing and selling it and make it a means of revenue. And then you can have indirect benefit to the society, not necessarily to the investor, but to the society class. And sometimes you have to. Next, please. Now, finish after the initial decade in sanitation, wash, school sanitation, capacity building, and all those things. It has forayed into liquid waste management, and they have started with small systems in small villages, and they have expanded into major treatment systems. And one of the most important treatment plants, which Finish is consultant to, is a lake rejuvenation project in Chennai, south of Chennai. It is Lake Sambakam, which occupies an area of 61 hectares. And it is receiving effluents of various types through 22 inlets around the town. And the total quantity of effluent is 7 million liters per day. And in order to treat those effluents, we have a combined system which uses a combination of technologies. It has sedimentation there, it has aerated lagoon there, it also has a horizontal flow, subsurface flow, constructed wetlands. And this constructed wetland, which we are putting up there, that is the second largest constructed wetland in the world, occupying an area of 28,000 square meters. And this we are doing without acquisition of land from outside. And this particular project, by treating 7 MLD of water, is actually giving a benefit of something like around 5.6 to 8 million Indian rupees to the society. The logic is the neighboring areas, they are dependent on water supplied by Metro Water, Chennai Metro Water, by tanker trucks, which is priced at rupees 80 per cubic meter. Because their bore well doesn't have good water and it is receiving waters from the Sambakam Lake. Once we have only treated water entering the system, entering the lake, the groundwater quality automatically will improve, which in turn will make available this 7 MLD of groundwater to the residents there. However, this cannot be treated as drinking water. So we are assuming a value of 3.5 MLD, 50% of the 7 MLD made available to residents around the lake. And this 3.5 MLD will replace the requirement of tanker trucks to that extent. The resultant benefit will be anything between 5 to 8 million rupees in the initial year, and it can go up to more than 50 million in the coming years. So it is a society which is benefiting. That is an indirect benefit. The investor is not getting any money back in this. Further, Chennai is a water scarce city. By stopping the water supply to the extent of 3.5 MLD to this area, actually Chennai city will have enough water for other areas. They are saving on water because Chennai is a perennially water scarce city. So that also is an indirect benefit. And the third benefit is the Sambakam area. It has a population, it has a large fisherman community there. Now, since the lake is in a very bad shape, the growth of fish is less, availability of fish is less. Once it is rejuvenated, there will be enough fish for the fisherman community to sustain on. And this particular project is actually sponsored by the Nature Conservancy, which is the biggest NGO in this line in the world. And there are CSR funding from Cognizant Technologies coming in. And Grunfalls also is spending some CSR funds, but they are giving it in the form of pumps and other things, equipments rather than money. So this is a prestigious project which we are handling right now. We had worked on similar projects earlier, but not this dimension and this size. Next please. Next please. This is how it looks. Now, earlier we had worked on the drains leading to 2 different lakes within Dungarpur city. Dungarpur has 3 major lakes: Gaibsagar, Suneria, and what was the 4th one? I forgot. Only 2 are getting our treatment, and Suneria treatment is such that it has only a physical treatment, primary treatment, followed by a constructed wetlands. Because the drain which is feeding Suneria Talab, which is receiving purely household discharges. There is nothing else other than household discharges coming into the drain, which is feeding the Talab or the lake. Whereas when it comes to Gaibsagar, it is receiving fugitive effluents from the industrial estate beside that, which warranted a sharper treatment. Next slide, please. Next, please. Oh, I'm sorry. This is yours. There was one more slide in mine that is missing. It doesn't matter. I will just explain. That is, we have to insert a mechanism system also in the Gaibsagar treatment system, because it was receiving industrial effluents using some raw organic material in the industrial estates. So we had to insert an MBBR into the system over and above our routine primary treatment and the constructed wetland at the end. So I have tried to keep it as brief as possible because time is running out. We have exceeded the time. Yeah, you can see my email ID spelled wrongly here. That H is not there. Anand Ganesh here. That H is not there. It is only SAIOER. The phone numbers are correct. So I can be contacted by email or by the phone numbers. The last 2 are WhatsApp numbers. And the first phone number is signal number.
So Anand, we have a
Thank you very much.
question. So we have a question from Anand. We have a question from Vinny Munjal.
Yeah, please.
She's asking a question. What is the maximum and feasible treatment capacity of these constructed wetlands?
No, it all depends on the land requirement. The reason is, see, constructed wetland per se is not a very popular treatment system. There is a reason for it, because the land requirement for a constructed wetland is several times more than a mechanized system. So, if land is available, any quantity can be treated. If you go to USA, you can see entire municipal sewage being treated in a constructed wetland. Not in one city. Several cities in USA have such systems, but because they have land, that's why. But here we cannot really afford to have a constructed wetland for a municipal sewage treatment system. Wherever we could fit them, it works. That's all we can say. Because the oldest living constructed wetland in a five-star hotel in India, that is in Trivandrum. It is more than 20 years old. I was the consultant. That is, earlier it was Ashoka ITDC. Now it is Kovala. There was some restriction on construction of anything on the land there. So instead of having a mechanized system, we put up a constructed wetland there. And we were getting very decent results for the last 2 decades without any problem. So availability of land is a critical parameter, nothing else. So there is no upper limit or lower limit.
Okay. So thanks for your presentation.
Hope
Anand,
he is
and
satisfied
taking
with the
time
answer.
out.
Yes,
In
sir.
case we have any more questions, I will share it with you over email, sir.
Please, because we are already running late, that I realize. And again, before saying bye to you,
fine.
I will repeat, I am right now sitting in Nandurbar and I had been inspecting 2 of the grey water treatments, low maintenance grey water treatment systems set up by Finnish in Nandurbar area, which is bang inside Maharashtra. And I don't know whether you are aware of that.
For the benefit of all our viewers, Nandurbar is a very remote location in the interiors of Maharashtra.
Come and visit it. Please come and visit it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this invitation also. This brings
It is
us
a very
to the
remote
last...
2000. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to present this. And I expect a lot of questions in my email mailbox, as well as my WhatsApp and Signal numbers. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
This brings us to the last presentation for the day, which is a case study on, an underground sewage, STP plant at the Mira Bhayandar Corporation. I would now like to invite Mr. Sanjay Singh to present on the underground sewage network for Mira Bhayandar Corporation. Over to you, Sanjay.
First of all, good evening and thank you for giving us opportunity to present here. I'll just, as we mentioned, we are lagging behind the timing, so I will just have a quick start. So we are representing the SPML Infra Limited, formerly known as the SPML Subhash Projects and Marketing Limited. So we have completed more than 600 EPC projects comprising of more than 10,000 kilometers of underground pipeline works, thousands of MLD of wastewater treatment and 1,000 MLD of clear water treatment plants. Also, we are into business of power distribution of power. So we have already given up the electricity to the more than 20,000 villages and 8 lakhs of house connection. Moving to onwards, this is the brief projects related to comprehensive underground sewerage network in Mira Bhayandar, including operation and maintenance. So as you can see, this is the Mira Bhayandar area location, which is situated in the northeast area of the Mumbai suburban. So during the course of the execution, there were so many challenges we have encountered with the situations. So Mirabandar area is surrounded by creek from three sides. So land is majorly land filled up of the proportion of the reclamation land. The septic, the present previous area was the septic tank toilets were used throughout the city. The main roads of the city had open gutters almost for 170 to 190 kilometers, along with the collecting and carrying sewage from individual houses. And there were no sewage before these projects, and sewage collection treatment plants existed over the million population. The sewage disposal system comprising the septic tanks and surfaces in gutters and this is and carrying to the old sewage treatment plants by open channels, which is a very highly polluted and unhealthy conditions. The direct discharge into the inland water bodies led to wide spreads of water contamination and distorted aquatic flora and fauna in the area. Apart from this, as we have mentioned, the majority land is the reclamation area. So ground water table is very shallow. So we have very few dangerous site conditions for the excavation purposes. So apart from this, there are some salient feature of the projects. This is the first time in India where the decentralized sewerage scheme has been executed. As we can see, the entire Miraband area is divided into 10 different zones. So each zone has their own different network, is carrying all the domestic sewage to the sewage pumping stations, and all 10 zones having different networks, different sewage pumping stations, and different STPs. All the sewage treatment plants are functional and residential using the MBBI technology, that is moving built by reactor technology. The advanced MBBI technology requires less power consumption and lesser space than the conventional sewage treatment plants. All STPs were designed for SCADA-based operation and management, and monitored in the control from the one master room control. The project is also executed with a specialized shoring metal, which is brought from Germany, which is SBS MS shoring. So moving on to next, this is the schematic diagram of the project, where we can see the domestic wastewater is collected from the house connection to this nearby road manhole, and entire sewage is carrying through the different collection system, varying from dia 150 mm to 1200 mm with only gravity, and it is collected in a raw sewage sump, which is depth of maximum up to 14 meters. Then the raw sewage is pumped through the submersible pump through the sewage treatment plants, and with the help of MBBI technology, we are treating all the 115 mld sewage, and the treated water is being disposed into the nearby creeks. So entire collection system length is Mirabandar we have executed is 96 kilometers, and out of the 96 kilometer, all STPs are carrying the sewage from various locations, industries, and various. There are some social benefits, which is environmental pollution will be under control, plant disposal of treated reduced stagnation of the water drains, lesser the insects will be reduced significantly, and so on. This is the summary of the zones which I have completed. Zone 1 to 10, it's a numerical denomination of the collection system. Zone wise, the length of the collection system, and capacity of the capacity is mainly designed for the locality and the population based. So this is the present. Moving to the these are the technical parameters. This is the standard parameters. pH, the inlet parameters are designed. Requirement of the standard parameters are discharge outlet parameters 6 to 8 pH, total suspended solids less than 20, BOD less than 10, COD less than 100, oil and gas less than 10, and coliform is less than 500. As I mentioned, there are some technical aspects where we have there is a failure of the timber shoring while we are executing in the shallow depth of the excavation length. To encounter this, we have brought SBH shoring from the Germany, which is the very safest method of execution of the pipeline work. So there are some advantages using the timber shoring, SBH steel MS shoring over the timber shoring. Moving on to next, there are the completed sites, zone 2 STP, 2 STP3, STP4. All STPs are currently working and under in operation maintenance since 2015. So total per day 7,000 kg is the dry sewage we are generating, and it is being disposed into the reclamation area, which is provided by the Mira Bhayandar Corporation area. This is from our side.
Thanks, Fayaz, for sharing this presentation. I think it's unique how in a lowland area like Mira Bhayandar, I stay close by, so I know the challenges that are there with all the land reclamation that has happened. So thanks for sharing with us this wonderful presentation. I will share any questions that come up from our audience with you, because due to paucity of time right now, I'm not extending this session too long.
Yes, sir.
So thanks, Fayaz, and also your colleague Sanjay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So this brings us to end of day one of Jal Samrudh Maharashtra. To all the viewers, you can use the same link to attend the session tomorrow. The day two focus is primarily on digital technologies that can be deployed and are used in the wastewater sector. So the focus tomorrow is more on digital technologies, both from the Dutch side as well as some Indian case studies. So with this, I would like to bring this session to a close today, but inviting you all to again use the same link and join in tomorrow at 3 p.m. for the second and the last day of Jal Samrudh Maharashtra. I would now like to thank all the speakers, specifically the Dutch speakers, for waiting patiently and then sharing their unique technologies with us. And a special thanks to the Dutch consulate and to all of you viewers for making day one of Jal Samrudh Maharashtra a success. We had close to around 400 people who attended the session today. So thank you and hope to see you and looking forward to see you tomorrow.